Hello, everybody. First off, I apologize. This is not a Facebook Live. Facebook Live is not very happy. Right? It's a sports terrorist, if you will, as far as the Mike Valenti term goes. In terms of getting two people to do a Facebook Live, unless you're in the same room, very hard, at least according to any of my Google searches. But I am Ryan Griffin from the Sports Carnage podcast, and I am joined by Dylan Bair, who is my Sports Carnage podcast brother. Whoop whoop, Sports Carnage power. Basically, what we have going on for you guys, if you follow our Sports Carnage page on Facebook, you should. It'll be in the link in the description on this video, highlighted blue. You really can't miss it. But go follow it there. Dylan put up a preview video, and we're going to be previewing the NFL playoffs for you guys. Before we get into that, I'm sure you can see his background where he's tipped his hand a little bit already as far as at least how one of the matchups will go. Follow us on Twitter at Sports Carnage. Facebook, again, that link right there, Sports Carnage Podcast. And then where can you find Sports Carnage, you might ask? That is a fabulous question. You can find it on Podbean. You can also find it on Apple Podcast, whatever your preferred podcast platform is, except for SoundCloud and Spotify. We don't mess with those. But we're everywhere else just on the basis of the internet taking its place and putting it on there. So that's very appreciated to Al Gore's internet. And when you guys do listen to our podcast, make sure you like it, you subscribe to any of the channels that you're on, and then you give us ratings, you give us reviews, comments. Let us know what we can work on. Share it with your mom, your grandma, who's ever got some working ears that can listen to our podcast. And even if they're deaf, we'll still take the views. As far as that goes, we're also on YouTube, where we're also going to be putting this video up. So if you're listening on YouTube afterwards and not on Facebook, you can find the links to everything we just mentioned: Facebook, Twitter, Apple Podcast, Podbean, right in the description down below. And you've seen the YouTube video before, so you know how the description works. The first matchup that we do have to go through is going to be Dylan's Buffalo Bills. You see the hat. You see Jordan Poyer in the background, ending Cam Newton's career. And they are traveling to Houston to take on the Texans and all of the fun that is a Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins offense. And since Dylan has already tipped his hat, literally, pun intended there, boom, off to a rocket start. You can tell us why you think that Buffalo is going to roll into Houston and make them remember the Alamo.
So, all right. So here's the deal. Here's the secret. First off, the Alamo is in San Antonio, but that's not important.
Doesn't matter.
But
they don't have a football team.
So we haven't done our playoff preview. The playoff picture is now here. Buffalo riding in strong after having really impressive showings in the last few weeks. The reason why I'm amped for Buffalo, I'm obviously tipping my hat here, but it's actually for the guy behind me. And much more importantly, the entirety of the secondary for Buffalo. You got a roster that it has Tre'Davious White, first-team All-Pro, I would like to add at corner. Micah Hyde, who is phenomenal. Any Michigan State fan knows what he used to do to us back in the day. And, of course, my guy Jordan Poyer, who got completely screwed for the second year in a row, not receiving All-Pro. I can't believe it. Look at this photo behind here. That's what he does.
Defense is that. Look at this photo.
That's what he does every day. And it's going to happen to Deshaun as well. This secondary is phenomenal. And the problem is that Will Fuller may not wind up playing in the game. The problem is that Buffalo, for teams that are much more finesse like Houston, you really see how Buffalo, in the style that they have kind of come around with Sean McDermott, they finally have kind of gotten into their own with the roster and how brutally physical they are. And we'll know right off the jump, because if Buffalo can run the ball with Devin Singletary and with Josh Allen on reads and all that, it's going to be a long day. It's not going to be a 20, 30-point blowout. That's just not their style. But if this game is close, Buffalo just has the hogs and has the upfront talent along with secondary play that is going to make Deshaun Watson's day very long. And again, another thing of irony before Ryan takes over with this is like the 50th year it's on ESPN for this damn playoff game with Houston. I don't know what it is. If they have a contractual agreement with the Texans or something, I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to be watching all of it while the Bills Mafia takes over the city of Houston. Let's go.
Oh, this the ESPN website on the national TV says it's going to be on ESPN and ABC. And I don't know that I've seen an NFL football game on ABC. I just might not be paying attention. But
so important, we need it twice.
That's right. That's crazy though. The one thing about this game, because I do think the Texans are going to win, although I'm not super comfortable about it.
No.
And there's something that I saw on Twitter, which is really perfectly describes up. I think the Texans. They're the Falcons with a mobile Matt Ryan, and I like the Falcons this year, even though they kind of sucked. But I thought they were going to be good going into the year. As far as the Texans go, that's really where I see them having the advantage. Is Deshaun Watson is a decidedly better quarterback than Josh Allen is, and I know you love them both. It's not debatable at all. Josh Allen still sucks.
He's my Cowboy.
But, I mean, and Josh Allen came out and said he doesn't have to be the better quarterback to win, which is true because Buffalo has a way better defense than Houston does, although J.J. Watt is going to come back. This game, man. You don't know how effective he's going to be after he's missed, it seemed like basically the entire year. But he can at least give that team, a spark and, a little rah-rah, if you will. And plus, he's still an excellent player, so maybe he can make a few of those impact plays, which will probably end up deciding the game. And then obviously going up against Tre'Davious White, you have first-team all-pro wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. Even if you don't have Will Fuller, you have a guy like Kiki QT. You have terrible Carlos Hyde coming out of the backfield, Duke Johnson Jr. And then you have the threat of Deshaun Watson. I think I just like the weapons for the Texans more. And this is a game I don't know what the spread is. I'm going to see if I can figure that out. You said 2.5?
Houston at 2.5 is what Paul's got for us, which means that even though 3 by now. Okay. Well, the point being, though, is that spread has been bet down because Houston gets a 3 off the jump. That's how the books are made because they're at home, which means that Buffalo, if it was in Buffalo, would be favored. So it's just the home advantage.
Well, it's at 3 now, so it looks like if it was at Buffalo, you'd be able to pick them.
Well, okay. So regardless, point being is that there's not much differential from Vegas's point of view between these two teams. And on top of that, Houston has proven so many times in the past just how poor their home stadium is for a playoff game. If this were in Buffalo, we wouldn't even be having a discussion because Houston wouldn't have a prayer. And I just think that especially with how Buffalo showed in New England, they lost. They showed out. They showed that they are going to be able to compete.
I know, but the Texans beat New England. And I know you obviously don't do transitive property, but the Texans have already showed they can beat some of the better teams. And then they also have, they played the Saints really well at the beginning of the year. I'm pretty sure it's the end of the year. Yeah. At the end of the year, they lost to the Saints by 2. Which wasn't really the fault of the offense. They put up 28 points and then weren't able to obviously put the game away. And I just wanted to make sure. Oh, no, that's the beginning of the year. Why does ESPN do this with their schedule? I remember that game at the beginning of the year, too, and I was like, well, ESPN's got to be right. But basically, they do the playoff game up front and then games 1 through 16 and then the preseason at the bottom. Don't ask me why. So I'm sorry about that. But so to just contradict myself, they still had a mind-boggling loss at the end of the year, which is what I thought. They just got bombed out by the Titans. But that was a game where, none of their guys really played. Right, the Texans didn't have anything to go in terms of seeding. So it was all their backups and all their depth players getting bombed out by the Titans, who still, of course, had a playoff berth to play for. And it's a Titans team that they beat 2 weeks earlier. But they did beat the Patriots. Granted, they were at home and they weren't in Foxborough. And they got the doors blown off them by the Ravens. And neither of these teams, I should say, because there's only 2 of them, the Texans or the Bills, don't really have a lot of impressive wins. The Patriots win is probably the most impressive between the 2, but the Patriots are pretty garbage. What do you mean?
Bills have a ton of good wins. That's the thing. Okay. Thanksgiving Day. Okay, and let's not be – I want to make sure that we're putting this in context of when this happened. So we can't be revisionist about it.
Oh, if the team's bad now, you can't say they're
by double digits in Dallas on Thanksgiving, number 1. And Sunday night Okay, again, you're being revisionist about
No, they sucked then too.
Thanksgiving Day. That's Thanksgiving Day, and they won by double digits. They completely dominated that game. It's not even close. And that was before – that was the start of the backslide was what Buffalo did. And then they also won on Sunday night in Pittsburgh.
Because the Pittsburgh team is starting Duck Hodges at quarterback.
I don't know what you want from me.
What do you mean?
Those are impressive wins. You say they're not impressive wins. These are absolutely impressive wins.
Here's the other thing. You beat a guy named Duck.
Here's the big difference. Houston started out hot and they regressed back to the mean because I will fight tooth and nail. Sean McDermott's a substantially better coach than Bill whatever the fuck. Bleep, I guess. My bad. But Bill O'Brien.
Actually.
I can't handle him. But the last 5 games for the Bills, they won double digits in Dallas on Thanksgiving, played the Ravens to a single score, which is an impressive feat, as the Mr. Baltimore over here should be able to say.
Woo-woo.
Beat the Steelers on Sunday night, played New England tooth and nail, same deal, and then the Jets wound up being them in a game where everybody sat. So, I mean, all I'm saying is that the Bills have played on the road a lot more and in tougher and tighter spots than Houston has.
Well, Houston doesn't have to play on the road, so that doesn't matter for them in this game.
But
they get to play home.
But that's why I added in the caveat that for the Bills, playing on the road doesn't matter. But the close game part of it, the Bills have done that against substantially better competition.
And not the Patriots.
I think Houston looks worse going into the spot, and the fact that they're favored doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence.
So the one unchallengeable reason why Houston is going to win this game and even get to the next round of the playoffs before they lose in the AFC title game. Check this out. So they start off the season with the loss, got the next 2 wins, lost, next 2 wins, lost, next 2 wins, lost, next 2 wins, lost, next 2 wins, lost to the Titans. So that means that they're going to beat the Bills. And then they're going to beat probably the Patriots to tip my hand over the next pick. And then they're going to lose to the Ravens in the AFC title game because that's just the way that their season has gone. And that's really just science right there. Straight up fact. It looks like I lost your video. It just says Dylan's iPad.
Well, hold on just a minute. It's all right. Go on. Move on to the next one.
So the next game, who is going to be playing the Texans, is the Titans travel to Foxborough. They take on the New England Patriots, who everyone seems to be writing off, and everyone is loving the Titans. And what you thought you heard before the – if you could place a bet – I'm going to try and say this better. If you could place a bet on number one things you weren't going to hear in the playoffs before the year started, at the top of the list was I would rather have Ryan Tannehill than Tom Brady, which if you turned into any ESPN show today, I can't speak for FS1 because I didn't watch it. I'm assuming that the conversation is the exact same. Is everyone saying give us Tannehill over Tom Brady in this game, which sounds like insanity, but seeing as how Mike Vrabel is out there giving the Joker smile in your background, I'm assuming to you it doesn't sound like insanity.
No, and in fact, look at who's this guy? Who's this guy behind me? Is that the best Patriots assistant to ever get a head coaching job? I'm pretty damn sure. Mike Vrabel over here has done. Oh, get the hell out of here. No, Mike Vrabel, too, in all seriousness, has done a fantastic job in an awful spot. And in fact, it's kind of irritating because Tennessee has done the exact opposite of anybody who hasn't listened to the cast before. I'm a Chicago Bears dude through and through. The Bills are my number 2. So I'm going to take this off now since we're done with them now. Yep, we're done. We're done. We're good. We're good with the Bills. We talked about them. But no, Chicago and Tennessee have handled the exact same scenario in different ways. Chicago and Ryan Pace have continued to hold on to the franchise guys that they overdraft. Tennessee, on the other hand, did the exact opposite. They brought in competition, and the minute that they saw it wasn't working, they jumped off of it, and look what's happened. It's phenomenal. And on top of that, Tennessee has made Derrick Henry work much better than they did before in how he's running the ball. And if we've seen anything out of New England this year, they cannot outslug guys the way that they used to be able to. The running game isn't the same. The defense isn't the same. I think that Tennessee is actually a better offensive team than Buffalo is, because just on the sheer fact that Tennessee's going to be able to run the ball better. And I think that's really tough spot for New England. So let's see. What was the spread here, Mr. Griffin?
So on ESPN, it has it at 5.5. I don't know what Paul gave us, but the up-to-date spread is 5.5 New England.
It doesn't matter because I'm taking Tennessee outright. I think that Tennessee's going to pull an upset on this. It's all about the TOP because New England's offense is not good enough in order to be able to score every time they get the ball.
I mean, I'm not sure that Tennessee is going to score every time they get the ball either. And just I can see why everyone's scared of the Patriots because they haven't looked like the Patriots this year. The defense has been an improvement, but Tom Brady has looked very much not Tom Brady-esque. And their offense all runs through him. It seems like they have less offensive weapons now than they ever have before. They can't get their running back situation figured out, whether it's Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, James White. These are all guys who are, even below average to sometimes just being decent and average enough. Obviously, they don't have Gronkowski, and they haven't been able to replace his production. Julian Edelman's had an okay year, but he's really the only receiver there outside of Philip Dorsett for the first couple games, at least, where he was catching a ton of touchdown passes. At the end of the day, though, you still look at the team's win-losses record, and I know there's way more kind of analytical and play style that you can just get to it. But you still need to win games, and New England is still sitting at 12-4, and Tennessee is at 9-7. And I think I would always take a 12-4 team over a 9-7 team, and they've played well at home. They're 6-2 at home, just like they're 6-2 on the road, even though obviously that doesn't matter. And Tennessee is 5-3 on the road. As impressive as Ryan Tannehill has been, Mike Vrabel, and even Derrick Henry, who much like Carlos Hyde, I didn't think was very good, but both had good seasons this year. Henry obviously kind of way better than Hyde, but give the respect where it's due. I do expect them to try and control the game and control the clock. I just don't know how really effective that's going to be, and I also think that that's a play style that New England wouldn't really mind playing because they're not some high-flying and high-scoring offense. And if you're going to have a game where kind of the team that makes the fewest amount of mistakes ends up winning, I'm still going to take Belichick over Vrabel as a coach, even though Vrabel's done a tremendous job. And I'm going to trust the experience of the Patriots and of Tom Brady to make less mistakes than Ryan Tannehill and the rest of the Titans, who have really never been in a spot like this. And obviously, the Patriots do have the home bump, and Foxborough is always a tough place to go. You saw the fact that the Patriots have only lost twice there. I don't know that I would pick them to cover the entire 5.5, but I would definitely pick them to win outright and then end up facing Houston in the next round for me, and then obviously Buffalo for you.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting matchup if both my teams wind up upsetting on the road. That'd be insane.
Who would have home field? Oh, Buffalo, right? They'd have to because they have more wins.
Yes, it would be Buffalo hosting a home playoff game. Oh man!
In the second round after winning on the road for the first game, that'd be crazy. But New England also doesn't like playing wild card weekend, just because they're not used to it.
Never won a Super Bowl without a bye, so.
Well, they don't have to win the Super Bowl; they just have to win this one game,
which they won't even do because of this guy right here, right back there. That's right, this guy. Look at this smiling Joe. Hey.
Yeah, you should come be Patricia's assistant.
Moving on to the next one then. I'll start this guy off by doing a little transition here. Oh, there we go. So we got ourselves somebody new, some new teams moving in on Sunday, and that is Minnesota and New Orleans mishmashing, going in a repeat fashion, this time in New Orleans. I don't think that anybody needs to be reminded what happened then when a rookie safety decided that he was going to do what poor Madden players do when they try to play the ball and they just hit the hit stick on accident. So New Orleans is playing at home against Minnesota. The spread for this one, Ryan, is well, at least on our sheet, it's New Orleans at -8. Dalvin Cook's stat.
It's 7.5 here, but I mean, same difference.
Odd, considering that Dalvin Cook's status is still up in the air. Maybe it's probably been out that he's probably going to play. But anyways, please feel free to tell me how these two back here are going to tear it up.
So this is a game it looks like we're finally going to be in agreement on as far as the outcome. And I really go back to what I said with the Titans and the Patriots. One team's at 9-7, the other's at 12-4. Each team just has one more win. So the Vikings at 10-6, but the Saints, man, they have 13 wins. They don't lose a lot. And the fact that they're playing on Wildcard weekend, it really sucks for them because they've had a really tremendous year without Drew Brees for a good portion of the year. And they're able to obviously keep water with Teddy Bridge there. And then I was proud of that one. But Michael Thomas setting the single season receiving records, and the Saints really aren't. They're not playing. They haven't played really any better football all year, to me at least. I mean, they ended the season with 3 pretty impressive wins. They beat the Colts. They went on the road and beat the Titans, who, at the time were still fighting to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The week before they beat the Colts, they lost the absolute barn burner to the Niners, 48-46. And then on the road at the Titans, and the Titans are trash, but, the Saints really imposed their will, beat them down 42-10. In the preseason, the Vikings beat the Saints, but that doesn't really matter at all. And I expect the Saints to still have a little bit of a grudge with the way the last one ended. Not even just the Stephon Diggs crazy play, but it's a team that still last year probably believes that they should be in the Super Bowl, regardless of what anyone else believes. I think they're really motivated to prove, we were a championship team last year and we're still a championship team this year. The Saints might actually be the best team in the NFL and the best team in the NFC. And I just don't think that really bodes well at all for Minnesota, regardless of how well Kirk Cousins plays or even Dalvin Cook. You bet Kirk Cousins and a Dalvin Cook, and then you raise them Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara, and you throw a Michael Thomas on top of the Adam Thielen or the Stephon Diggs that you have as far as Minnesota goes. So really what you would consider like Minnesota's strengths on offense, New Orleans just has a better version of those at each position. And Minnesota's defense is probably stronger, but I do like the Saints at home. The Superdome is somewhere that always gets loud for the Saints.
Right.
And I expect them to I expect the fans to even have that kind of same energy and vengeance that the players have after feeling that they've probably been cheated, the last 2 years or 2 of the last 3 years or whatever it is.
Man, my ghost green screen over here mess up my stuff, but yeah, I got my New Orleans Saints thing on. That's right, courtesy of our own Matthew Basson down in Louisiana. And these two behind me, oh man, they're gonna torch. Michael Thomas is just obscenely good. I don't see how there's any way that anybody, even trash ass Trey Waynes, is going to be able to stop him. But yeah, no, for real. Like that, I don't know how Minnesota's going to keep this within 2 scores. This is going to be bad. They're going to be out for blood too. This team is going to do everything in its power to break this team's spirit after what happened. There's no chance that they're not going to do that. That's vengeance. And also, I was incorrect. It was not last year. It was the year before that. My mistake. My apologies.
Yeah, last year was the not pass interference call that made it challengeable, and then it never got overturned. Right. I hope Michael Thomas scores a touchdown and grabs his helmet and throws it to the side. Even if he gets kicked out, if they're up by 14 or 20, it'll be worth it.
I just think, and also in fairness, I actually don't think Minnesota's defense is better. New Orleans has the best corner in the entire NFL in Marshawn Lattimore, and
Stephon Gilmore, baby.
They have done a lot better. Yeah, man, Stephon Gilmore's a traitor.
So sweet.
He's a traitor. He went to the AFC East rivals. How dare he?
Hey, he went to play for the Patriots. It's like the best business decision ever.
It's fine because we replaced it with somebody better. That is all-pro first-team Tre'Davious White.
So is Stephon Gilmore. He was a unanimous first-team selection.
The Patriots have to steal from the Bills in order to get good secondary play. That's all. Anyways, not important. Not important. Point being is that New Orleans is going to be getting to the second Super Bowl of Brees' career. It's going to give him that second ring on that finger. Nope, he's not wearing it there, I don't think. No, he's not.
No, he didn't wear it during the game.
But yeah, look at that warm embrace between the two. That's a nice moment, and it's going to wind up. And I got my Saints, wedding ring deal going on right there. See, there's the color.
Was that like actually on purpose?
No, not. But Mrs. Bair is a New Orleans native, as it were. So I have my allegiance drawn on this as well. So it's going to be New Orleans Saints going to be destroying. So let's move on to the more contentious one, because this is I think is the most interesting game of the entire week. There's a reason that it's got an 8:00 kick on Sunday, Mr. Ryan.
It's going to be the Seattle Seahawks traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. And for me, it seems like it's at least the least talked about game that I've seen on, when you watch NFL Network or ESPN or something like that, even though it is potentially the most interesting. You have Seattle, who is Russell Wilson, and then a bunch of pieces who are not Russell Wilson. That's not fair. They got Bobby Wagner on defense. I'll give him his credit. But Russell Wilson on offense, Bobby Wagner on defense, and then a bunch of guys around them who are not either of those gentlemen. And then you have the Philadelphia Eagles, who I would swear to God half of their team is on IR. You had the crazy Carson Wentz stat where he threw for 4,000 yards and no receiver had like more than 500 receiving yards, except for Zach Ertz, but he's not a receiver. He's a tight end. Regardless, it's one of the most impressive stats that I've ever heard. And you consider that when guys are throwing for 5,000 yards now in the NFL, you have 1,000 yards less, but you're throwing to really like the invincible tryouts for the Philadelphia Eagles, Flag Eagle. It looks like the spread on this game, as far as ESPN has it, is Seattle -1.5, and they are still obviously on the road. They're at Philly because Philly won the division, but Seattle sitting at 11-5 and 7-1 on the road, and Philadelphia at 9-7 and 5-3 at home.
Yeah, so as I am alluding to here, we got ourselves the chickens, the Philadelphia chickens behind me. But no, Ryan alluded to this before, but it's very, very serious. The Philadelphia Eagles are out here running tryouts. They are running tryouts.
Queued up.
They are running tryouts right now for just everybody in the city of Philadelphia. D. Reynolds is going to be coming in as the punter soon. It's ridiculous, but it doesn't matter because the entire city of Philadelphia, just as what I bet they would spoof on the actual show, way too reactionary about Mr. Wentz. Everybody talked about how, oh, man, he's trash and all this. And he lost all of his receivers, including another traitor, bitch-ass traitor by the name of Alshon Jeffrey.
Better than Kenny Galladay. Paul.
He's not better than Allen Robinson. Let's go. But anyways, no, Alshon is out, as was Deshaun, as was Nelson Aguilar that dropped all the passes and gave out all the tickets.
Aguilar.
And also, Zach Ertz is actually going to be out for this game. But it doesn't matter because he's got, Dallas Goedert and
Miles Sanders,
Scott,
baby.
Or whatever the hell.
I was caping for him all year.
Background and stuff. Look, it's impressive. And all jokes aside, serious here for a second, this feels identical to the game where Julio Jones dropped the pass in the end zone. That Atlanta team, make no mistake about it, should have won that game, but they didn't, and then everything started to turn for Philly from there. They're hot at the right time. They got the right guy on offense, and they got a brilliant defensive mind in Mr. Schwartz, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. And I just think that Philly's going to wind up winning this. Seattle has nothing around them. Russell Wilson is my MVP for that exact reason. He got this team to 12 wins, and nobody can name an offensive player on the team right now, except for Tyler Lockett. That's it. Tyler Lockett.
You got Chris Carson.
Is he
Will this
now?
is hurt.
Is he playing now? I don't think so.
Is he not?
No. And neither is
Rashad Penny.
Penny.
They had Marshawn Lynch. They got him back. Beast mode. And then, was it Trey Homer or something? Whatever that dude's name is.
So you got Marshawn Lynch guy behind me would run better than Marshawn's going to run in that game. Get the hell out of here.
Wish.
If Philly is going to wind up
Beast mode going to recreate his touchdown, except since it's in Philly. It still might cause an earthquake just because everyone's throwing garbage cans at Carson Wentz, even though it's Marshawn Lynch running for a touchdown and he can't do anything about it. So these two teams did meet, it looks like, in Week 12 to a real snooze fest of a game where Seattle did win 17-9. And I think so Philadelphia, you would say they don't have the horses to be able to compete with Seattle, except you might not need all of the horses that you have because of the injuries that Seattle is really occurred over the last couple of weeks that you mentioned, the Tyler Lockett's of the world. There's Jordan Poyer. Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, even Will Dissly, who's I don't think he's playing anymore.
No,
there's a lot of all they have is DK Metcalf, my man's. But it's a really depleted offense on both sides of the ball. And with the depleted offenses, I think you do have to look at the quarterbacks, and Carson Wentz does catch a lot of flack, and he's not Russell Wilson. And one of Russell Wilson's biggest credits is it's never really mattered who's on his offense ever since like the first Super Bowl that he won. Because in that even playoff run, he wasn't really good. The Legion of Boom carried him, and Russell Wilson was just not making mistakes and making plays when they needed to play. And then as he's been able to develop to, a top 2-3 quarterback in the NFL, he's been a guy who, even like Brady up until this year, it didn't matter who was on his team. He was going to make them better. He was still going to get his numbers, and he was still going to find a way to be able to compete. With Philadelphia, I do feel like the hot streak that they've been on, and some of like the hype that they've been getting is because for the last 4 weeks, and you can only beat who you play, but they played absolute garbage. It's like the Redskins, the Giants. I just had it up. I'll go back to it. But the Redskins, the Giants, they beat where are they? Philly. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, now I have to click on them. So they won all 4 games. They were just against really
Washington.
Who else?
Too.
Yeah.
And
so Redskins, Giants, twice. That's who it was. I knew there was a team twice. So the Giants twice, the Redskins, and the Cowboys. So they beat up on everybody in their division, but none of those teams are obviously really any good. No other playoff teams, and the Giants and the Redskins have, I think, 2 of the top 5 or 6 picks or whatever it is in the NFL draft. So really two of the worst teams in the NFL. But on the flip side of that, Seattle hasn't looked impressive either. They lost a game to the Cardinals, who ended up with 4 or 5 wins on the year. They lost to the Niners in the last week of the season in a game that, because the Packers won, it wouldn't have given Seattle the number 1 seed, but it would have kept them out of Wildcard weekend. They lost to a Niners team that they beat earlier in the year, and then they really got dominated by the Rams. And in there, they mixed in a win to the Patriots, the win at the Panthers, not the Patriots. I just saw the P, but a bad team regardless. This is a game that I can really see as a coin flip going either way, and it is the closest spread that we do have. I would still take Russell Wilson in this spot over Carson Wentz, being that, both the teams don't have any of their top targets really, except for Zach Ertz. But, DK Metcalf has played well this year. And if I'm going to take a team that can kind of piece something together, I'm going to take the team with Russell Wilson and even Bobby Wagner on defense more than I will with Carson Wentz and then whoever they're running out there on their defensive side of the ball, because their secondary is still bad.
Can't do it.
Oh, it's bad.
Can't do it.
Bird Gang.
Who's bad?
Well, Bird Gang goes to both, actually. So Seattle, baby.
Right. So to recap, I got my Bills. Right. There we go. My Bills. That's right. Bills all the way. AFC title game. Let's go. And then we got Tennessee. I will take to win outright. Buffalo to win outright. New Orleans to cover, and Philadelphia to win outright. So I got 3 underdogs this weekend. 3 underdogs. Ryan, recap
You're
yourself.
wrong on almost all of them. So Houston's going to win. New England's going to win. The Saints will win, and the Saints will still cover in their victory. And then Seattle's going to win, and they'll cover because unless you're Tennessee Volunteers, you can cover a 1.5 spread. But in all those wins, the Titans are going to cover against the Patriots, or so they're going to lose, though.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. So we have our new recording of our show is going to be coming out next week. Very important stuff. We're going to be going over the divisional rounds for the NFL. Also, the college football national championship game. That's going to be up next week as well. We may have some Who's Mans. We may have some Grizzly Takes. Ooh. We're also going to be wrapping up. We're going to have a bracket for the best sports broadcasters that will definitely not include trash-ass Jim Rome. So, anyways, that's all for me
for no reason
today. That's all I got, Ryan.
So that podcast is going to be coming out on Thursday, January 9th. And then between now and then, we'll have a ton of content for you guys. We know obviously we go live after the Pistons games, and if they end up trading Andre Drummond, you'll see this. You'll see this teal hat very soon, so you can talk about that. Not the Lions anymore. And then Michigan and Michigan State play on Sunday. Play basketball, so we'll definitely be doing something after that in terms of the live video shoots, if you will. But that is what we have for you guys. Make sure, again, subscribe to the podcast, visit our YouTube channels, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. Share, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff.
Mafia. Bills. Yeah.
And then we'll probably do something like this after the divisional rounds are set.
All right.
Depending on how you guys like it.
Yeah.
But see you.
There you go.
And meeting for that's probably stopped the recording.